to skunk number one. So that's where right now skunk is just skunk. It's like skunky weed. Any weed that smells like skunk is skunk, basically. There's not really specific strain names as much. And so skunk number one is Sam's selection of skunk, basically. And he took that along with Haze and Cali Orange. Haze comes later, but some other strains to Amsterdam. And he started selling these strains to the other seed banks. Yeah. And specifically Neville. So he starts supplying the seed banks. And this is some of the stuff I learned yesterday. He was actually more of like a wholesaler. That's why it wasn't quite like competition at first. He was the supplier of everyone. Yeah, he was selling like kilos of seeds to them. And they were sometimes like white labeling them and stuff. And they were also breeding themselves. Neville did breed himself, which we'll talk about too. So Sam is in Amsterdam. He's like selling seeds to people, and Neville gets his hands on the skunk, like we just talked about. Yep. And that's Neville makes Super Skunk. So or Seed Bank of Holland makes Super Skunk, and we're pretty sure Neville's the one who he actually did the breeding at this point. There's a lot of controversy on Neville too, and like he definitely claimed work that like wasn't his, especially early on, and like the waters got very muddled because like some people didn't want credit because they were paranoid.
So he was willing to take credit, but that's kind of why he goes like the Neville's
Haze,
Neville's,
yeah. Okay. Like and so but he did do breeding, but he didn't start breeding and growing until like 81, 82 when he read like a book or an article or something, and he actually got his business loan through a thing for recovering heroin addicts for like a recovery program, because he was a heroin addict also, I learned. And so anyway.
and I mean there's a lot of people from that era because what happened is people go to Vietnam. I mean, there's a combination of Vietnam being like one, people doing a lot of heroin there plus fucking weed, but also it's the start of when a big start of when they start to do Iran Contra, or those like precursors start to happen. Like the French Connection, that's like right around that, right after World War II, kind of going into that 20-year period. So anyway, side note.
Yeah, the heroin. Yeah,
they flooded.
People were doing a lot of heroin.
Yeah. So we'd help you, obviously.
Yeah. There's part of that. So it's like reasonable loan. So he makes Super Skunk, other skunk crosses with the other strains he got from him as well, and that's when the genetics started to improve. Amsterdam didn't have good genetics until then. That's like pretty much.
And were they known? Was Amsterdam known at this time as like the Amsterdam that we used to know?
The first coffee shop was in 1978, so like the ones we know now. So it was just starting. Yeah. So the government was lenient. People were growing weed there, but it wasn't really good weed at all. It was like hemp and
lenient, like they were letting it start to happen to these coffee shops.
Yeah, it wasn't like 100% legal, but it was like it was weird.
It was slowly starting to kind of.
It was kind of like a gray area situation.
It's kind of like Barcelona right now. Not Barcelona right now, but very
like how we grew up during medical here. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Things are slowly.
Yeah, things are starting to happen there, and like that's where people go to like make it in weed.
In Europe.
Yeah, in Europe. People are starting in the world. Yeah. People are starting to, because it's legal. So people who have a dream, they hear about that. They hear, oh, weed is basically legal in Amsterdam, and everyone's coming there and sharing knowledge and stuff. But when Sam brought these genetics is when, and they started becoming even more refined, is when weed turned into what we know it as today, more so.
And that's like real, like the modern
strain. Yeah, just like higher THC, stable strains, branded strains. Like that's a big part.
So he's kind of the one that helps usher in this. Well, I don't want to give him a total.
The California genetics.
The California. So I just see I see Connor. It says Santa Cruz started.
Yeah. From Santa Cruz. So there was other people too that we'll talk about in future episodes. That a lot of them were very secretive too. That's why I want to do a little more research before we talk about it entirely. Yeah. But I've only been able to find like letters basically as the names, and the Hayes brothers like aren't real, is what I've been told by a lot. Yeah, okay. But like that's was like a lie to like protect someone's identity. They just being like, oh, the Hayes brothers made it.
That makes sense. Yeah, the Hayes brothers.
They
probably were talking about with the Wright brothers or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of jokes.
They want to go fly, right? Like the first brothers go.
Yeah, they were like fucking with people basically. Yeah. And so then it kind of caught on, and like no one wanted to take credit, and then later it's legal, so it's like now who, so Sam didn't make all these genetics. He got them in Santa Cruz
100%.
and brought them in, but he was doing breeding, and he did select the skunk, and so
absolutely. And then there's this comment right here, look up Todd McCormick.
That's where we got a lot of the info from, actually, from the podcast and some of that. Yeah, we need to talk to him.
Absolutely. He's got a very extensive the whole thing pretty much.
Yeah,
right?
no, that's we're gonna link when we release the episode, we're gonna link a bunch of like research and stuff. And that podcast, he did a really good podcast with Dark Horse Genetics that talks about
and then we'll cite everything. So like I said, it's just we wanna this right here for folks that are just getting into the chat too. What we're really doing here, these kind of podcast episodes, these research. I gotta change the title. It's not pre-show anymore. It's kind of we're doing the show now, but it's really like this is gonna be like a review of the research that we've been doing, and we want to show our proof of work. So we're having just a conversation about. He's gonna go over all he's the director of all of the retro tech research and developing these stories and that's like the main part of this. And so we're all kind of like as a group kind of going over all of this stuff. We're gonna probably bring in James being here in a little bit. I'll text him. He's been helping us out with this as well. Shout out to Steve's here now, by the way. So we're definitely just to give an overview of what we're doing here. So it's not to get us too derailed.
No worries at all. And there's a lot more we can go. Like all the stuff we just talked about, there's a lot more to it. So we're just kind of doing an overview of the story and some of the research, but like I think we should even do more of these lives about this when like we can pull up like when we talk about some of the court cases later on and stuff, we can do some where we just dive into the paperwork and like do like a read along kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
But okay. So for now, let's get back. So Super Skunk, now all the seed banks have skunk, they're getting to California genetics, and then kind of chaos ensues. Like there's
like what do you mean by chaos?
They're basically people are trading genetics behind closed doors. People are saying, you know what I mean? You don't really know. This is when things start to get a little more confusing when it comes to like,
because now there's way more people there's way more actual like breeders, right?
All the breeders, and now all the breeders have the good genetics. So now they're making good stuff. And there's also people who own the companies that sometimes are getting, you know what I mean? The seed banks, exactly. So like, and the coffee shops also.
So the entire economy of seeds are starting to formulate, and that's where it gets the intricacies of that, and then there's
exactly
exactly.
And so basically we'll talk about Neville a bit now because that so we can go into Sensi seeds.
Perfect.
In that era. So Neville in 1990 91 gets arrested in Australia, and Ben Dronkers pays for him to basically get smuggled out, his legal fees, help deal with the court case, and get back to Amsterdam. And in exchange,
and that's from smuggling him out of
Australia.
Out of Australia.
Okay. So like I think I don't know all the details, but he had like a court case and he was held on. He was in jail for like a year in Australia, awaiting extradition to the U.S. And this is what people think Sam snitched on him for, which we found paperwork from the court case that said someone else snitched on him, which was his like partner. But
are we gonna get into that now?
We just need to like mention it. Because people are gonna do it. But we don't need to go over all of that right now.
Okay.
So Neville gets smuggled back to Amsterdam, and in exchange, he sells his seed collection to Ben Dronkers, and that's how Sensi Seeds.
And that's because he needed to that's how Ben Dronkers paid for. It was kind of like
it was kind of like he bought all his seeds when he went to jail. Then when he smuggled him back, Neville worked at Sensi Seeds for a few years.
So it was,
and it like helped make even more. So Neville was like breed, you know what I mean? And he did all those trial. Like we're not going to talk about his trial, like all the like other Neville stuff. Just that.
Well, that'll be for another.
There's way more.
The haze.
There's way more to Neville than that. But like that part of it is important to the storyline. So essentially, also in a little bit before this is when the Cannabis Cups are starting in late 80s. So Cannabis Cups are starting. All the like drama is starting.
So the Amsterdam High Times Cups.
Yeah, the High Times Cups. Okay. The first one was in 88.
88. Okay.
So
and then what else? The High Times. There's kind of the competition. So
there's a lot of
cups, right? It's
there's some. Well, there's more like small cups. Okay. There's more like closed doors, like private cups, and there was that before also. And I think at this point, it still might have been closed doors. I don't think it was like a public event.
Okay.
I think
they couldn't publicly have people come to. It's too sketchy.
I don't think
that's
so.
not, probably not. It's probably
and they were there were other like private cups.
100%. Well, and we'll, like I said, I think we'll call in. We'll have a.
I'd really like to talk to someone who was there.
Yeah, well, I want to talk to James. In a little bit here.
That would be
we'll
really
come
cool.
on and talk about that stuff. So we'll touch that stuff up.
So. We didn't even learn as much about the whole culture of the cups as we will soon. So anyway, and Skunk number one, Sam Skunk number one, Cultivator's Choice, through Cultivator's Choice, won the first.
The first one.
Cup. Yeah, they won the first one. Yeah. And then just other people start winning, and it's all Haze, Skunk, Northern Lights crosses that are winning every single year for like most of the early 90s.
So they're dominating.
Basically until White Widow.
Until we get to like that, okay, which is another interesting aspect.
Which I think would be kind of like a follow-up after Northern Lights, because it's still kind of this thing, but it's like it's not really part of it's not one of the backbone strains, because Haze, Northern Lights, and Skunk basically made most strains. So they started combining with the other land races. Then we get all the strains that are right after them have some of them in them. Then the next strains have some of those ones in them. So it's really like these are the strains that started
the big cornerstones.
Yeah, the cornerstones of a lot of NL5, Skunk number one, and Haze, and different Haze and stuff. 100%. So basically, the reason why this is the Neville thing needed to come up was because around this time Sam starts Hortifarm, which is this is what makes him controversial to a lot of people. And he got the first DEA license. Perfect
time, and we got this comment right here. So by Strongheart Loney, Sam was this is what we're saying. Sam was a DEA.
Rob Clark, is that Rob Clark?
Sam was a DEA plant introduced by R.C. Clark. Both of them eventually started GW Pharmaceuticals and made Marinol and Cedros.
I don't think they made
Did they start?
Marinol
GW?
was happening around this time. They worked with GW. I don't think.
Let's start from the beginning though. Yeah. So
they started.
So explain to me. So I guess it kind of goes a little bit why there's two reasons why people think he's a snitch. We're not going to go too much into it, but one of the reasons was because he got the jail. Yeah, and that we've talked about. We've proven that that's. We'll talk about that. Yeah,
we found paperwork that basically from the court cases. I mean, we didn't find it. It's out there. Like they talked about it in the Todd McCormick thing. That's where we found it. It's basically showing that the person who was distributing seeds for Neville in Michigan just snitched on him for everything, and it's like the whole affidavit, all this stuff, and there's nothing in the court documents. There's other testimonies too. Has anything to do with Sam or David Watson?
It has something to do with somebody else.
His name's Ray Kogo.
Okay, so we'll leave it. We'll
leave it at that. But also these documents weren't unsealed until 2003. So Neville himself had plenty of reason to think that, and he also makes a lot of sense. Didn't want people thinking Sam made all the genetics that he.
That's interesting. He was pretty. And then on top of that, it's a little sketchy that you got that DEA like you're the only one in the entire which. Like I said, there's definitely
it's also strange that the DEA is giving licenses.
Yeah,
because that's not what they.
And this is the famous one that they put in Mississippi State, right in the college, where it's like the heart of anti-weed country. I guess at that time, right?
They got the seeds from Hortifarm BV, and then they were working on genetics for GW Pharmaceuticals to try to make some like Monsanto autoflower type thing.
Some nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So did he start GW Pharmaceuticals?
I don't think so, but I don't want to say that without. G13 is the thing from Mississippi.
Yeah, G13.
But I don't want to say that without knowing. But I'm pretty sure GW Pharmaceuticals is like a big.
Oh, it's a huge one. I know it's a mainstream one now. It's like one of the.
And I think Marinol was before all this too. Was already around. But let's just look up when.
And they're like the very first ones to start taking. They're the first ones to start taking cannabis, cannabinoids, and then turning them into pharmaceuticals, just like what the pharmaceutical industry does in general. They go around the world looking for natural substances and they turn it into a pill.
So Marinol was approved by the FDA in 1985. And
what is it used for? What is Marinol?
It's a synthetic THC. It's basically the right around during the war on drugs. the pharmaceutical industry was trying to like capitalize on it too. That's partially why they were like, that's basically mainly why they were so harsh on weed, because they wanted to make this Marinol thing that they thought was going to be like a big thing, and then it wasn't. So Hortifarm didn't start until 1994, and let's see, when was GW Pharmaceuticals founded?
YouTube cross for researching open conversation. It will be great when you cite your sources for others to verify. Exactly, that's the whole point of this. This entire this whole like live stream that these podcasts we're gonna do for folks that just got into live stream. It's about like when we put out the actual like more refined piece. That's a little bit obviously cleaner.
This is for.
That's exactly what this is for. So it's really to get your guys' feedback, to kind of point us, make sure that we're on the right route, as well as for people to be able to look back, see our cited sources, see exactly how we got, like we're showing proof of work, right? Just like, math class, they're like, show your proof of work. How'd you get the answer? That's what we're doing here with this. So, that's that. And, we want to have, your guys input. So
yeah, GW Pharmaceuticals, it was founded in 1998 by some doctors in the UK. Basically.
So they didn't start it. That's
no, they didn't start.
But they were the ones that brought the cannabis aspect to it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole.
Exactly. And they worked with them they totally.
That's a whole.
Involved with GW Pharmaceuticals.
And we don't want to go down the whole the question of was he fed.
That's a whole episode. Yeah, we can break down. Yeah, and he just wasn't on the documents that we found about snitching on Neville from that thing, and the DEA was going after a lot of people. So then some of the other genetics made with skunk we can kind of get into.
Let's go to those.
A lot of people so now skunk number 1 is on all the seed banks. Everyone's getting their hands on it. So now there's phenotypes and breeding starting to get going. So lemon skunk, one super famous one, was by a guy named Lemon Chuck, and his family was the first people who selectively bred it. They got the cut from their friend who is a chiropractor in California. Mm-hmm. So the skunk number 1, what I heard from Chuck is that he thinks they got it from some seeds from Amsterdam, but it's also possible that it was like a skunk number 1 that was still there from when Sam was doing it with Sacred Seeds.
100%. So, and this is another thing that a little bit separate. I think it's too off track. In terms of when we start to cite sources, how do you think we cite stuff like that? If it's somebody told us this, how do we?
It's really. I
guess we could probably find it because if they told us, and they're probably.
I just asked him. And he just told me
okay.
Yeah,
so
that's something that
we got to figure out. Yeah.
It really depends because some people are super private. So if they're not super private and they're okay talking, then it's easy. We can just say who told us.
Yeah.
But if they don't, or then. Yeah, we're gonna try to avoid that, but sometimes it's just gonna be the only way we can get the information is from, and we want to be respectful to these growers and stuff. So we're gonna do whatever we can to respect what their wishes. So
make sure, yeah.
But yeah, when we can, we'll say who we heard stuff from, obviously, and then also just putting out if you want to learn more, like the bottom of Wikipedia where they have all the links, just a bunch of links if people want to dive into it, So yeah, him and his family noticed a more lemony, skunky smelling one. And I heard somewhere that it's actually a terpene called terpenol that's not limonene in the lemon skunk that gives it that smell. It's not actually I think it has limonene, but the main thing is terpenol in it, which is just interesting. So then Chuck starts going over to Amsterdam, just to meet other growers, just like we talked about how people do that,
Mm-hmm.
And he starts realizing there's nothing that smells like my lemon skunk, I guess. So he tells them about it, kind of like the OG story where Matt meets Josh and is like, I have this really good strain, or we have this really good strain in Florida.
Let's bring it over.
Let's bring it over. And so he's kind of everyone's kind of talking their shit. I have this really good strain. He's like, oh, okay. And he brings it back over from back from Nevada to Amsterdam.
Okay. So he brings it back. So Nevada to Amsterdam. Right?
Yeah. Then
that's that's the equivalent of like you're saying, Matt Bubba going, okay, just to clarify.
And it's also pretty interesting because if it was a skunk number 1 seed from Amsterdam, then skunk number 1 started in California, went to Amsterdam. Skunk number 1 seed went back to California, went to Nevada, then went back to Amsterdam again as the lemon skunk.
Oh, that's crazy.
Which is pretty interesting, Yeah, it's pretty cool. Just as those genetics were evolving, and then their family stabilized the lemon skunk kind of thing. And then he sold it to DNA Genetics in a handshake deal, and they kind of got famous for like lemon skunk.
Okay, shout out to Eric, shout out to DNA.
So yeah, and then now Chuck runs a dispensary called Verde Natural in Boulder, Colorado, and they do cool solventless stuff and that kind of thing. Then another strain, cheese, UK cheese, was, we were told, Exodus Collective. It's basically what just really cheesy smelling skunk number 1 pheno is what we've been told. And again, it could be a cross also, but it has skunk number 1 and it gives off that it's like a really different smelling variety. And then Big Buddha Seeds brought it back to Amsterdam from England, where it got popularized. Then Green Crack, which is a skunk number 1 pheno also, but I don't know if we're gonna put it in the actual episode just because there's so many, and Green Crack could be its own episode probably.
Yeah.
But it's like a pheno.
It's
a skunk. I also don't know. It's a cross or pheno. That kind of stuff is what's really hard because so much work goes into the breeding sometimes that it's like it's a descendant of skunk regardless of skunk number 1, and that was in Ohio by someone named Cecil C. Allegedly. And okay, so now we can get to the last one, Super Silver Haze, which is kind of like the theme of this whole thing, because Super Silver Haze is skunk, Northern Lights, and haze, all 3 of these strains that like are somewhat in most of the popular strain. Trainwreck, White Widow, all the ones that start coming after this have some of them to some degree. So Super Silver Haze, Greenhouse Seeds is where it came from, but that's also with a whole episode about who
the White Widow. The White Widow debacle.
It's White Widow.
Debacle, but
the
argument.
The argument. Super Silver Haze, I think, is kind of a similar, because Ariane was running Greenhouse Seeds. Yeah.
I've covered it. I've done the story on Ariane. I've talked a little bit about it. I would love to interview him. I could definitely. I saw him last time in Spain, just at his shop. I've got his. I gotta hit him up.
So there's a lot of drama.
So when will you talk about the Chronic? Anyway, we'll come to that. This is interesting though. This comment
what
I keep
about
saying.
The Chronic?
So the UK skunk is really what they call cheese, right? So
yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm not exactly sure. You know what I mean? It's just I know cheese comes from UK. I think it was Exodus Seed Collective.
Yeah.
And UK skunk. It is probably like started getting cheese. They probably had a kind there that started getting cheesier. And so they were like, "Ooh, this is interesting."
They didn't know what cars.
This just smells like cheese. Is what we're gonna do more research about that.
100%.
UK cheese X skunk. Okay, yeah. Then this is when it starts. Like we have these strains that are descended from it for sure, but then it's just this is when we don't know. Where there's bag seed everywhere. All these growers are ordering seeds from the catalogs all over the world, all over America. So a lot of growers are getting, even BC, they're getting these seeds from Amsterdam, then popping stuff.
Yeah, and so a lot of the genetics, they came from Cali, right, initially?
The 3 main ones came from Cali. Or Northern Lights came from Seattle. But
shout out to Seattle.
Yeah,
woo!
Exactly. That's going to be a good one. I was excited to talk about that. But Sam brought over skunk, Cali orange, haze, and then I think there was one called like early pearl, or like it's called like early skunk maybe. That there's kind of some up for debate about that too. But like those all the good genetics came from California. I'm like, I'm down to say that.
But the epicenter of it at that time, because of the legality, was Amsterdam, and so then eventually traveled back. So it's interesting how that goes. It's interesting like that too. I mean, throughout history, there's different kind of epicenters of weed throughout the last 60, 70 years. Like really, it's like like Canada, right? It's Amsterdam, it's
Spain,
Cali.
The Spain thing is interesting too, because I think a lot of the growers from Amsterdam, I think laws started to crack down more in Amsterdam, and then it was like though a lot of the growers.
It's all about regulatory. They keep moving, and by the way, too, shout out to Adam Dunn. By the way, I completely forgot. Adam Dunn shows right now. He does them on Fridays. We won't do it.
Oh yeah,
we're not gonna do it at this time. We won't do it this time moving forward.
We interviewed Adam, and I just didn't want to put words in his mouth too. But
shout out to Adam, by the way. Helpful. Yeah, Adam's the best. I love Adam.
Hopefully, we can have him on here. And, like,
Yeah,
talk
I would.
about
Yeah,
this stuff.
yeah, 100%.
Like, yeah, we got a lot of the information.
He's
from
the
him.
man, dude. He's the
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Legend.
he was super good. To talk to.
Yeah, and then
yeah, so should we kind of like wrap it up pretty much?
Yeah, I'm gonna
yeah.
probably bring on, and then if you want to.
Yeah. About soon, and so basically, yeah, it started to spread out, and then who knows? This is when so a lot of the strains that came from unknown bag seed that we'll talk about later from this time, late 90s, mid 90s, early 90s, all of that is like probably skunk, haze, Northern Lights related,
what I guess this is a whole other rabbit hole, but like the sour D's, so the descendants of those it's like
Chem Dog.
So okay.
Yeah. So Sour Diesel is supposedly.
We don't have to go.
Yeah.
Sorry. My bad. I'll stop. I'll stop. We won't get into that right now. Absolutely not.
We want to do a lot of Sour Diesel stuff though, and like that's going to be a discussion. So,
yeah, the Sour, and we just saw AJ. We just saw that. I haven't watched it all the way through yet, but on First Smoke. So.
Yeah, I wanted to keep this information in my mind.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah. No. We don't want to go all over the place here. Yeah, well, so we're gonna bring on. I mean, any questions? I guess we'll just do like.
Yeah, let's see.
James, I'm gonna bring him on.
Yeah.
Just for like 5, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Any some of the questions that we were thinking. Okay, James, if you're watching, we just sent you the email to join. Should be there. AJ just said Diesel is Chem 91. Okay, yeah, we'll leave it at that. We don't want to.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I said. That's why I just said. I mean, a lot of people. There's Chem in it for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out to the 206. Hey, what's up, Chad Westport? Hey, what's up, brother? Shout out to Joshua. That's the homie. Shout out to Tacoma. We gotta put some respect on Tacoma's name.
Yeah.
Seattle, the Pacific Northwest. Absolutely. AJ podcast born, even though I was excited to hear about the Diesel. Yeah.
Well, we'll learn about Diesel from that and then make it.
Yeah, that's the thing about it is like what we're doing here is like we're trying to take all of the information and refine it down to the most, the most accurate. We're gonna make mistakes, but the most accurate, the most concise. It's gonna be all scripted, right? And we're trying to consolidate everything and put it into video form. And then we're also going to have, like I said, these kind of conversations. And then we're also probably going to have maybe like a debrief as well, kind of like, after we watch the full kind of refined piece, what you guys think about it? What should we do next? So it's going to be really like group orientated, right? Like it's just like, like it should be. And I think we're going to do multiple volumes of different, like for example, like the OG Kush one that we did, that was like volume 1. Yeah. We're probably going to do like volume 2, 3, and 4, like, because it just gets, especially when like generally like that where there's so much to it. Yeah. There's just there's a lot of people involved.
That one was kind of highlighting the Bubba Kush. Yeah, because Bubba Kush is so like it ran so rampant with like the mafias and all
100%
crime syndicates. Yeah. So like we're gonna look at it from other angles.
Yeah, we want to look at all different angles and really we're gonna try to do volume 1 is gonna try to always be like about the actual like breeders and like how that we're trying to do the overall story, but then we're gonna get more intricate with it. And so Jay wants says, cut out the fat and give us all the pro. Exactly. That's that's what our main point of the Retro Tech series is going to be about. And then, like I said, we're going to have other content series that are part of Retro Tech to stuff like this, like we said. And by the way, guys, typically for anybody that's watching that just got in here, what we're actually going to do these live streams hopefully I think once we figure it out on the High Design streaming platform. So we're gonna typically how it's gonna go. We're not gonna do it Friday because I forgot about Adam.
We could just do Thursday.
Yeah, we'll figure out the right day. It'll be weekly, but it won't be obviously during. Yes, shout out to Adam, bro.
Yeah, thanks Adam for all the information.
I love you, bro. And so, what was that? Just spark me up.
High Design platform.
Yes, there we go. Jesus. So we're going to be streaming on just that platform. We're going to do like a little 15-minute pre-show on YouTube just to let people know, but we'll have it like the same time, on Thursday or Wednesday, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever we decide.
And so, but why I say that is make sure you guys go sign up for free. It's literally www.highdesign.media. Just all you need is the email, and that's it. And you also get, if you also sign up, you're also going to get email notifications about when the live is going to be. So just in case, I'm going to put that in the chat here as well. I don't know if James is going to join us or not. Sent the email. Well, we might just wrap it up here probably.
We can have him on next one. For
Yeah,
sure.
we'll definitely have him on the next one then. If who remembers the chocolate haze? Yeah, we're gonna get on the haze. So really, like this coming week, we're gonna be releasing the skunk, right? And then the next week after that, we're gonna be doing the haze, which is gonna be that was gonna be fun.
Yeah, the haze is
that was gonna be real fun.
Yeah. It's a very similar story, but there's other stuff we're going to highlight.
Yeah,
is basically the idea.
And
that's why we're pairing these three together.
100%. And the haze is a little bit more. It's more of a modern. It's newer, right? In comparison to skunk, right?
Yeah.
So 70s,
yeah. But like not much later. I just think
I always see like 70s, 80s skunk, and then 90, like 80s, 90s.
Well, yeah, no, haze. It also is older though. I think it's like it was first. Like some of the first hazes were like 69, I think even. But like. Yeah, I think that's when the like Hayes brothers made it. But it also wasn't just one haze. It was kind of like skunk, but like a little bit more specific than skunk, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, cat piss.
The real quiz on it.
I like cat piss.
Yep. Yeah. If you hit cat piss, you'll get the most controversial strains. Bingo. Yeah, skunk, haze, sour, OG.
Cannabis. Yeah, cannabis would be good to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's no, this is gonna be dope, guys. I'm really excited for this whole us to like embark on this whole journey together. And yeah, like I said, guys, make sure you guys go sign up for the High Design streaming platform. It's free. We're gonna have, like I said, weekly one of these. It's a debrief for the
So we're cutting out
and we're cutting out the fat. The stuff that's going to be on the Retro Tech channel is going to be some of the behind the scenes stuff as well. We're gonna do. So I mean, if anybody got any recommendations for things we should cover, we're gonna set up a whole system where people can vote on what we should do and a bunch of other things. So
we want to include you guys in the research process, basically.
Yeah, and we're gonna have this, and we're gonna be citing sources, and that's something that I don't really like. Has people really? I mean, besides, I guess there's some websites probably have done it.
Well, it's hard to do it with stuff like this, like you're saying, like we talked about with like people.
Yeah.
Like we can. It's just complicated. That's why these videos, I think, where we go over it and like go over our thinking process is like the best way to do it, and then just release like links and the interviews with
people are going to be able to find exactly where we made the mistake, though. That's the point that we want. Like, so if we do make a mistake, which I'm sure we're going to make them, to be honest,
for sure,
we're going to have the proof of work that you're going to be able to see, like this. Oh, this is where they went wrong, and in your or at least in your opinion, right, or whatever it may be, right. So it's definitely going to be really transparent, and it's
Pineapple Express.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, cover Pineapple Express. Yeah, with the
we want to do a Hawaiian.
So we want to do the Maui Wowie, which is interesting because that one's that's gonna be interesting.
Talk about Pineapple Express in that story, kind of.
Yeah, Pineapple Express is really just from the movie, right?
That's what the story goes, and it's just a pineapple, it's a Hawaiian cross of something.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe I forget what the other strain.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, guys, I just wanted headband for sure. I need to talk to. I think